We should be live.
Hello, everybody. And by the way, I'm really sorry about the technical difficulties, everybody, including those here in the call. And can you very briefly mention who you are and what you're doing for the project? Everything is going well on the technical side of things?
Let's do this way. I'm going to call in the order I have in the listed users in this channel, so we maybe are a bit ordered in talking. So I have Axtlos. My Discord, meanwhile, is not looking good. Okay.
Yeah, hey, Oxbus, I mainly work on general immutability tools. As some of you may know, the Linux immutability tools, stuff like an FS guard or ETC builder, and generally just help out with vanilla development.
Darun.
Hello guys, I'm Garun. I'm currently a computer undergrad pursuing in computer science. And I joined the Vanilla team as a beta tester initially when Mirko was testing Vanilla OS first version. And I work with the documentation team and occasionally help with translations.
Thank you. Evil Cramo.
Hey guys, I do graphics and UI stuff. So I made the wallpapers, which is probably my biggest contribution. But yeah, I also work on GTK.
I'm going to skip Mirko because he's useless. Now go, Mirko.
I'm Mirko and the founder of the project.
Only?
And that's a no. Yes.
Mattenberg.
Hello, my name is Mateus. I am currently a computer science undergrad, and I've been working on, well, basically anything that involves code. So I've started with AB root, then I helped on Apex, and now I've created Albias, which is our installer backend, and I contribute like with code whatever I can.
Good. Monster.
Hello, I'm Bart. I'm also known as Monster Online. I mainly work on the documentation and handbook guides here, and I also moderate the server and help in discussions about user experience.
Muqtadir.
Yeah, hi everyone, I'm Muqtadir. I usually do the same stuff like coding and the UI stuff. Initially, I was helping around with packaging and vanilla installer. Yeah, so mostly coding side of thing.
Devil Skeleton.
Hi, my name is Harry. I mainly work on like the quality assurance related stuff, and I joined Vanilla OS because well, Mirko is my friend, and I feel like I should be supporting a friend out.
Oh.
And
I don't think if his audio works, because he sent a message in the chat that he's on Firefox and he wanted to test his audio.
I sound fine, or
yeah,
no?
yeah. You're good. You're good. Yes.
Okay, good to know.
Then there is myself. I'm Pietro. You may have heard of me, like with Mirko, as basically co-founder of the project. I do mainly the public relations stuff with events and presentations and such kind of things. I'm a backend developer, so I usually take care of the dirty stuff at design point of view in vanilla when talking with Mirko in the backgrounds. So thank you everyone for being here. I wanted to show you the great team there is behind vanilla because it happens many times that people thinks there is only one or two guys. Mainly there is Mirko, but it's not just Mirko. Vanilla is what it is. Thank you to our contributors. And the main contributors and stuff is who you see in this stream today.
Yeah, thanks for everybody for coming in. And I was actually quite surprised when this was organized and I saw just how many people were there. Because when I started, knowing the project, it was like way fewer people. So I was wondering, how did you manage to get so many people interested in actually contributing to the project? And also, how are things scaling up? Because it's not always easy to have a small project with maybe a couple of people driving it and then having to switch from that to actually having tens of contributors.
You want to answer, Mirko?
No,
I take this
give
as a
me
no.
1 minute.
Okay. I take this as a no.
I'm
Well,
busy.
okay, don't worry. Well, everything started with the fact that let me see. Hey, these two scream. I'm going to take your place. Everything started with Mirko being tired and bored from all the common problems that are present in Linux and still not fixed or at least improved today. Well, last year was that moment. Like it happened many times in his life, he said, I want to do a Linux distribution that can really meet the user's needs. Mirko is a UX designer and a product designer. So Vanilla has been developed with the kind of mindset that is customer orientated, user orientated. Allow me the term customer, even if the distribution is free to be used, because this is the technical term. So the end user is a customer. Indeed, we talk about customer experience. The combo between the problems that Vanilla aims to solve and the fact that Mirko was already known for bottles allowed an easier scale up for Vanilla OS. So it's not only one of the two things. I'm quite sure that even with bottles, if Vanilla was crap, there was no future. The combo between knowing already people in the Linux world and creating something that was required in the Linux world allowed Vanilla to be what it is today and probably to become what we want it to be tomorrow. So everything started in this way. Then people joined in, liked the project, proposed for help, or even without proposing, just provided help and shown his or her support to the project. And this is the most important thing.
Okay, so thank you. Picking up a couple of questions from the chat. The first one is obviously, when are we getting ORCID?
This summer, keep in mind that we are going to be at Guadec in Riga the end of July. Guadec starts the 26th and ends the 26th of July ends the 1st of August. The last day is, let's say, just a social event. The first 3 days are speech on stage, and the second 3 days are workshops and groups that are working together to test new stuff. The 29th, so Friday morning at 9 o'clock, we are going to be on stage presenting Vanilla 2.0, Vanilla Orchid. Our goal is to have a kind of beta release for that day. We are not sure. We still have a lot to do. We are going as fast as possible, but being sure that what we're providing is reliable. Because it makes no sense to rush something just to say we did it and then it doesn't work. So our goal is to have a beta release for the 29th of July. It's not guaranteed, But let's say for this summer you have Vanilla Orchid.
Nice. And as an obvious follow-up, what about a KDE release instead?
Well, I'm going to leave the word to our staff that has all the answers to all your questions.
So, as we are moving from a more traditional package style to an OCI implementation, so now Vanilla uses Orchid, to be more specific, uses Debian as a base, and we are building specific OCI images on top of that to complement the base Debian. So we have we start with Pico or Pico, however you want to call it, which is the simplest of the images. It's basically just as little packages you need to have a working Debian system. And from there, we start building on top to provide more packages and more customizability. So core is the next one, which is where developers should start focusing to create their own flavors. So that has a root, that has epics, and all the things you need for like to make vanilla, and then people can create their own flavors on top of that. So the flavor that we have, that the one that's officially supported that uses GNOME, is the desktop flavor. So that is what we focus on, and that's already a lot of work. So I think as official flavors at the moment, we are focusing more on the GNOME side because that's what we have. However, as OCI images and some other things we have, like vanilla image builder, allow people to create their own images. The community will be more than welcome to create their own flavors with KDE, Cinnamon, or Budgie. I don't know, some random window manager if they want to, as long as, of course, as they follow our guidelines and sort of everything like we stand for with vanilla. So when a flavor developed by the community will have some, like they do the documentation very well, they have the applications that we require, everything, then of course we can start working with them to provide like sort of a, hey, we are this flavor, which although is still unofficial, they follow our guidelines, and for $20 they can get a checkmark verification. No, just kidding. But of course they will be closer to the project and saying like, hey, these guys are doing the things the way we expect them to do. And so although they're not official, a KDE version from the community is more than welcome to exist.
Okay, that's very interesting. Another interesting question from the chat is, as soon as Orchid is released, will there be an easy way or a clean way to upgrade from the first version of Vanilla to the second one?
Well, that is a great question because of course, we are testing the idea. We've been testing a lot, but it's still a bit early to say so because a lot of things are changing. So we are changing the entire AB root structure, not the structure itself, but the application's been rewritten from scratch. Apex is being rewritten from scratch. Oh, we're moving from one base to another. There are different packages. There is a different like system for organizing boot and stuff. So it is technically possible, but we are not sure it is feasible. I think that's the main thing that we're going to have to experiment with as we have a working beta in the future. So it's hard to say now because a lot of things are still changing. A lot of things are still in development, are not complete. So it's hard to just to say like, yes, we will have or we won't have at least at the moment.
Thank you. And can I have for to make sure that everybody shares a bit, if you haven't mentioned yet, everybody saying how they discovered about the project and decided to contribute to this particular project instead of any of the other thousands of distros that are out there?
So, well, I can say at least from experience, like I was a Silverblue user before vanilla, and I've been using Silverblue for I think around a year before switching. And I was really into, still am really into immutability, especially because ever since I started using Silverblue, I haven't had to reformat my system ever since, because one thing I think I really had an issue with regular mutable systems was that they would eventually get really dirty. So I would have a lot of packages I would install for development or for testing something out, and then I would eventually have dozens, hundreds of random packages. I had no idea whether they were part of the base system, whether they were dependency from something else. And with OS3, of course, I could just have a better overview and organize stuff, and I would know my base was always very clean. But Silverblue, and although I really, really, really like the distro, still has a few, I'm not going to say issues, but of course it's still, there's still a long way before it becomes very user-oriented or user-focused. So they still call it an emerging distro. And I think some aspects really reflect that, especially for developers. So Toolbox is really good, really flexible, but sometimes it is not the most. How can I say? Sometimes, like if you wanted to create a lot of separate environments for development, it's still a bit not there. Whereas DistroBox, for example, which is what we use as the base for Apex, is I think a lot more flexible in that way. So when I heard about vanilla with via Twitter, like Mirko started talking about it, I was half interested. I started looking into it, and a lot of the things were very user oriented. So you had, of course, the regular user who just wants to install their packages in a browser and get their work done. But you also have, like for developers, you have Apex, you have all these separate tools that are much better to get work done, in my opinion at least, than what you have on other distros. So the technology, of course, from other distros is also really, really interesting, and it's getting there. But I think vanilla does differently for by focusing really, really, really focusing on the user from the start. So it's not like, hey, first we're going to get the technical aspect and then we're going to start focusing on user experience. Like, no, it's always about the user since the beginning. So ever since the beta, uh, they were already like working on it. And when I started contributing, of course, the first thing I did was like, oh, hey, I need to add some kernel parameters because my laptop needs them to properly work, like backlight and stuff. So I just went there and found about it, and it's really easy to contribute to a lot of projects from vanilla because they're all written in Go, and Go is very easy to understand for developers, I think, especially if you already have like some understanding of other programming languages, as compared to something like C, for example. So vanilla is very approachable for end users and also for contributors, at least in my opinion.
Can I get
I,
somebody
I
else?
would I would like to add to what Matt said is it's not entirely coding related. You can many contributors here are documentation side and many even provide support for them. So it's not entirely contribution is oriented towards code side. We have the awesome wallpapers by Cramo and the best guidelines for making apps, and all of this is possible because of the different opinions we have from all the new type of people we have who are not into coding, but they give their ideas and designs. So it's not like you need to be into coding to contribute to vanilla. There are other ways to do. And if you want to get involved, there is vanillaos.org/get involved if you are looking into contribute.
I guess if I can add something, Vanilla OS is very much, again, like a user experience focused distro. So when I saw like development of it happening, when Mirko started tweeting about it, and I tried out the beta, I was like, fuck yeah, this is the thing I want to contribute to. Because it's really just I mean, it's a really friendly developer community in the sense that, you know, if you have some clear proposal, if you have something you want to do and you can do it, you can do it. It's if you want to improve the user experience, there's just so many ways. There's even a dedicated we have the Vanilla OS handbook to which anybody can write documentation, anybody can write a guide. So even in the documentation side, where it's usually, you know, it's abandoned, nobody ever writes documentation, it's all obscure. No, here, even that is something where it's focused to the user. So if you have something you want to do in Vanilla OS and you figure out how to do it, you can just write a handbook article on it, publish it in the handbook so someone else can do it. This also goes for basically anything. So if you have an idea that you want to realize, Vanilla OS is very much open to you realizing it.
Is there anybody else who wants to share something about this?
Yeah, I'd like to. For me, it's mainly because like whenever I try to contribute to Fedora, like they're using mailing lists and other platforms that are just not for me. And the fact that we're using Discord and GitHub and all that, like where I can actually edit my messages, I can make use of modern features, is one of the reasons why like I am very pleased of contributing to Vanilla OS because well, I think it's good that we make those platforms like how do I say this? Like I feel like that mailing lists and things like that aren't really approachable, or like even IRC for texting or well for messaging. And this is where like Vanilla OS we're making contributions very easy, like very approachable for users or like upcoming um, contributors as well, where they can use easy to use platforms. Oh yeah, and because Mirko is my friend, so I feel like I should be helping.
Mirko, how much are you paying to people in order so they tell you are their friends?
Am I paying?
I believe because you don't pay me, I don't say you're my friend. So uh, you can pay me and I can say you're my friend if you want. Okay, thank you all about those great points. Uh, I was looking to the chat before we move on. Is there any specific question about indeed OCI, documentation, customizations, contributions? If yes, I didn't see who was talking.
No, I was just looking at the chat. I didn't see any question from the chat specifically regarding that. I think, unless I missed it. But I did go through the idea that you published in the blog post, and that was quite interesting. If I understood it correctly, it would make it quite easy to swap both like there's three images, right? So there is Pico, which is the base one based on
Yeah,
Debian.
I'm going to cover you, but this is because this is full screen. This is Vanilla OS, and it's not Macintosh.
Why would you use Macintosh, of course, if you have Vanilla OS?
Exactly. Well, in my defense, this is an M1 Pro, so Vanilla is not ready yet. One day will be. That day will arrive with Orchid, someone, thanks to what you were mentioning. So, this thing here, we have the Pico image, that is the true core, well, to not be overlapped with the core image, but is what let's say that is what it is starting your system. core is okay. Here we have also something helping me. Core is adding to Pico all the minimum requirements to make that image a vanilla image. So you have AB root, albius, and so on. And then you have the big square here that is the actual release. And for Vanilla OS, this is going to be the core image with GNOME, basically. So given this schema, you can basically create any version you want of Vanilla OS with additional tools, with different desktop environments, without IDE. For example, imagine a server version where you don't need IDE. It's going to be a core with something else, with nothing else. So the core image could be a server image, for example.
Okay, so we do have a couple of questions in the chat now regarding this. The first one saying it's something that I know nothing about, so I'll just speak it as it is. I'm interested in how that YouBlue OS-like workflow is going to happen. Does somebody know what this comment is referring to? YouBlue?
YouBlue OS, this release didn't pop up in my radar. Maybe
Yeah, I
from
think
one of the...
I saw some things about YouBlue. So YouBlue is a project by George Castro. So he's working on basically. I think the best way you can say is like cloud technologies in as a Linux distribution or a Linux distribution as cloud technologies. I'm not sure how you would say, but they build all the OS as GitHub Actions. So I think it's pretty interesting because that's kind of like the ultimate OCI thing. So they do everything as containers and everything with continuous integration on GitHub. The way we're doing, of course, is very similar. So we have a tool called VIB. It's a vanilla image builder, and that's how you are going to build images. And so it's basically a YAML file where you can specify new packages, you can specify commands, and it's mostly like a way to declare a workflow. And then you can build an image from there. And of course, it's going to use some image as a base. So we use actually VIB to build upon the Pico image for core, and of course then desktop from core. So that's kind of a starting point, of course. If let's say you want to extend the desktop, so that's something at least I know I'm probably going to do. I'm going to extend the desktop image to include support for my webcam because Intel is Intel and their drivers are a bit weird. So I kind of have to build stuff from source, and I at the moment, and that's not really ideal. So for example, let's say I want to extend desktop and have everything the same, but with the drivers. I can just specify there where to pull things from and how to run the commands to build everything. And that is going to run every time the image is built. So every time I update the system or I create a new version from the image, those commands are going to be executed. So if I use if I use desktop as a base, every time desktop updates, I can then update my own image for doing that. And of course, that's a lot more for advanced users and people who want to make their own flavors. But anyone is allowed to do that, like to create their own image based on the ones we provide.
Yeah,
Sorry, it's just that we will also have like guides to do this. So it's not gonna be like rocket science.
Correct.
yeah, I think
I have to add one thing. George, look at me. We know each other, okay? Let's talk. Don't create a parallel project that does the same. Let's talk. Let's see if we can join our forces and let's do something great together. Was something between me and George, but I used your stream.
So I think this also addresses the second question, which was how will creating custom images work? So that's done through VIB. And the next one is, how about rollback? So how is rollback going to work?
Someone from the staff?
Sorry, I was just Discord decided to make the our channel disappear, so I couldn't unmute myself. But okay, I am here. Rollback. So I think like if we get into the technical terms here, so AB root, as the name implies, has two roots. You have the A root and the B root. And every time you update, you actually make changes to the next root. So that's something that already happens in the current version of Vanilla. So any changes you make using AB root, so in V2 you're going to add packages like with AB root package add or package remove. All these changes, once you apply them, are going, let's say you're in the A root, they're going to be applied into the B root. And let's say that you change something and you accidentally remove your desktop environment by running some rogue command. So all these changes are going to be in the B root. And that root, of course, is going to be half broken. You may still have a terminal, but let's say you have no terminal, everything is broken, everything is dead. You still have a separate root in grub where you can boot from. And from there, you can say, okay, I want to roll back to this image because this is the image I want to become the default again. So you do an AB root rollback, and now it's going to detect, okay, the default image is the B image, but you are in the A image, and this image, so you want this one to become the default, and then you say, yes, I want this to be the image again. And then it switches back, so A is now your default again. So that's a way you can roll back from a broken update by not having to have access to the new root. So you can just go back to the previous one like nothing happened and say, so I want this to become the default again. I don't want the new root anymore. And then once you run an update, the B root is going to be overwritten again, this time hopefully by something that's not broken.
And taking at least one more technical questions, how is that set up with YAML? Is that how it's pronounced? YAML? I don't know.
YAML, yeah, I think
YAML,
it's YAML.
yes, YAML. Don't
Thanks.
ask why, it's YAML. Sorry to interrupt you again. Just one thing. This is the meaning.
Well, because of that at this point, why is the setup with that better than what NixOS uses to define what is contained in the operating system?
So NixOS is very, I think, like I never actually use NixOS directly, but from what I know, it's very technical and like not very end user focused, and YAML is more familiar, I think I'd say, because YAML is also used in Docker. It's always used, it's also used in Kubernetes. It's so a lot of like more familiar technologies end up using YAML. So at least for me, when space is in YAML, which I think like I'm our arch nemesis because I usually get formatting wrong. But when the formatting is not wrong, it tends to be more familiar to how you describe stuff in NixOS. And so Nix is very powerful, of course, but I think at least for the end user to have a way to do this with AB root and immutability and via YAML for people who want to create their own versions is more. It's easier. Like it's more familiar. It's a way that it's just better. I don't want to just NixOS because it's a really powerful system, but our implementation is. I think it's better.
Okay, so sorry, some questions from the chat are quite funny. Somebody is asking repeatedly, so it's pretty important. If A is the present and B is the future, if I switch to B, am I a time traveler? which fair enough, I guess.
This user is following our Twitter, I believe, because this is a known meme from our Twitter. So welcome.
Okay, so instead, getting to less technical stuff. So how do you people work on this project? So I guess all the organizational stuff is happening here on Discord. And how do you decide, like, do you have some kind of tasks that you set each other to achieve or something?
So you guys, like Mirko or Pietro, want to talk about it? Otherwise, I can.
To be honest, I was reading the chat and didn't get the question, so you can continue, no problem.
Okay.
But
So
just one. Also, the other guys, Matt is our main speaking person here, but feel free to jump in and answer the question. Don't be shy. Nico and his chat are not eating us at the end of this stream, even if we are using a Mac on a KDE developer channel to talk about a GNOME-based distribution.
yeah, we are going to steal your features. So basically, everything we do is through Discord. So we try to be as open as possible in discussions and everything. So when we started talking about, like, let's say removing sudo and focusing on PK exec, we were doing that in the dev channel so people could join in, and a lot of people ask, like, hey, why would you want to remove sudo? Why, are you stupid? And then we say, no, we are not stupid. You're stupid. No, we just explain them, like, hey, this is our logic behind it, and we organize stuff, everything through Discord, and we try to make the space here as open as possible for people to interact, of course, but we have to put some limitations because of spam and everything. But Discord is the main place you can get into like getting more to know about how Vanilla OS is made. So we try to discuss everything in the open. And of course, our GitHub also has issues and the branches. Everything is there. People can take a look and contribute. And sometimes people are like already stalking kind of our project. So like, let's say, oh, hey, I created a new repo and already has 5 stars from some people like that whose names I recognize from general. That happens sometimes. But Discord is the main way you organize stuff. And of course, when we need to discuss something more serious, we have a separate chat, of course, for that. But we try to be as transparent with the users as we possibly can.
Is there anybody that wants to add something to this?
Let me add something. Wait, where is the chat message? By Enigma. Have you considered a more searchable chat platform like Zulip? Our staff, not daily, but at least weekly, discuss about the platforms we use, discuss about what's better to use, and we consider many aspects. The first of all is how it is easy to use that platform. Discord is used since years, is the main communication platform for, let's say, any kind of topic. And we know that if we stay on Discord, it is easy for everyone to reach us and interact with us, make questions, and solve problems. If we change platform, you have to consider how it is likely that a user already has an account on that platform. Is that platform available in web, desktop, and mobile? Is that platform reliable? Is that platform cloud hosted by someone, or you have to self-host it? How much is the cost? Keep in mind that this is everything free and open source. So we have to think about how to be available to all of our users. not only enthusiasts, not only experts, not only super nerds, really everyone. Also about GitHub, okay, may not be the most preferred platform in the Linux and open source world, but if we have to think about a reliable place where it's easier to have new developers to jump into the project, well, that's the place. As part of the GNOME Foundation, we could choose to use GNOME's GitLab, but then how many developers will join it? It's all matter of providing the best option to our users. This may mean not always using free and open source tools, but we are focused on the user experience, on the customer experience. So everything we provide must be, first of all, usable, reliable, and easy to access to everyone.
Yeah, I can actually very much relate to that regarding KDE development, where we use a lot of Telegram, and it's usually bridged to IRC and Matrix, because in theory we would prefer to use those more decentralized and open source chat systems. Telegram isn't as open source as we would like it to be. But at the same time, we do want to make sure that it's easier for contributors to come in and help out. Somebody was asking about disk space. Are you like decoupling the data to make sure there's no there's no useless
duplication
data?
or yeah. Well, I'm going to leave again to Matt if no one else jumps in. Keep in mind that you may feel we are duplicating more than before, but thanks to the usage of OCI, containers, and all that system, and the migration to, I'm going to pop up again the dev blog, to this kind of design, we are reducing a lot the required space. We are going to change the partitioning requirements. We are going to change a lot of stuff, and you can still have double of the data, the base data, to ensure operativity without occupying the space you are today using with vanilla.
Yeah, that's
We
pretty
have
much what I
some data here,
was.
for example.
Yeah, that's kind of pretty much the same thing I was going to say. So we started with a very, I think we could say, conservative estimate for how much space each route would require. But as people started providing feedback and as we started learning more about how vanilla works in the long term, we see that a lot of the space requirements we have can be reduced and will be reduced in the future. So you won't need like 50 gigs as a minimum requirement anymore. That's something that, of course, it's a very safe estimate to do if you were using if you're installing a lot of stuff in your root partition, but that's at least not something that's encouraged anyway. So best case scenario, you will be installing only a few drivers, and that's it. Everything else can be done via Apex and with other tools, and everything else is going to live in your home partition. So this is how we are optimizing the space requirements. But of course, we cannot compromise on maybe duplicating too much of everything, because then if one file that is accessible for both routes gets up being deleted, then there is no more rollback. So we need to make sure that everything is still available for a rollback in case you have some disastrous update or some disastrous change you make to the system. And knowing Linux users, this is going to be more often than not. So people like to break their systems, at least I do. And the best thing about immutable distros is that I can look into a completely broken init RAMFS and say, okay, I'll just roll back and everything will be fine. So I think this is still our main goal, is to be able to completely recover from a nuclear operation, I'd say. But of course, we are still optimizing the storage requirements for our kit.
One question, who is the wallpaper guy again?
Is Evil Cramo.
I am the wallpaper guy. Hi.
The question here is whether there could be some kind of wallpaper contest and whether previous wallpapers will still be available, I guess, on the distro itself.
Yeah, previous wallpapers will be available. And for the wallpaper contest, I mean, last year's was for Christmas, but we could do any event basically. It's if there's interest, sure.
Okay, so
Meanwhile,
that is
Orchid
that
has. Sorry, Nico. Meanwhile, Orchid has a new wallpaper that I'm showing on the stream and the author is still Evil Camo, of course. So you got it in light version and dark version. So for Orchid itself, we have it for contests. Like said, if there is interest, well, why not?
That looks quite good actually, the wallpaper you have for the Orchid version. And since we're getting very close to the end, can I get some suggestions if you have towards people that would like to learn how to contribute and are getting started in the Linux world? If you have any advice on how to learn a bit about these technologies and then be able to contribute, maybe not necessarily to Vanilla OS, but to the Linux world, which I guess we all care about here.
Well, I'm going to answer this by adding an answer to a question I saw in the chat. Let me go back to my cam. I almost lost it. Okay. Have you considered long-term plans for bringing immutability outside of packages on Vanilla OS? Well, everything we develop, AB root, Albius, VSO. Well, VSO maybe less, but all the other tools are developed thinking, are distro agnostic, are not written on Vanilla OS, are written so any distribution can use them. We develop them thinking to Vanilla OS, so while developing Vanilla OS, because those tools are created based on the needs we have, but are not created specifically and strictly for Vanilla OS. So if you have an idea for a different distribution and you need also only one of our tools, well, you can already take them. You can already take them, and contributing is easy as, let me go to the footer. Why I don't find it? Okay, here it is. It is as easy as going on our or any other GitHub organization and dig into the code. Everything we do is open source, is free to use. Respect the not only for vanilla, but every time you want to contribute, respect the licensing. So the license is always published. You can go there and you can read all the requirements, but it is as easy as jumping in and also simply opening an issue. Remember that contributing doesn't mean only writing code, doesn't mean only participating in the technical discussion. Contributing means also raising questions, opening issues, asking why something is done in such a thing instead of a different way, asking, I don't know, for new functionalities. So contributing is participating. Participating in any way. Also just being on a Discord server and participate to the discussions, raise some questions, some points, ask for changes, provide feedback. So we thought of a functionality in a way, you find out that it doesn't fit your requirements, and you explain us why. I'm talking for vanilla, but this is true for every project. You simply say, hey, you thought to the workflow in that way, in that manner, but this is a constraint for me because I have this kind of need. And you explain. Then doesn't mean automatically that the changes are taken into account because maybe your working flow cannot fit in what we talked for that tool or the distribution itself, but it's still helpful to understand every point of view for vanilla, for any other distribution, for any other project, not only Linux distributions, not only tools and utilities.
What about
And
if you want to contribute like, blog posts to the vanilla blog?
Well, we have the team that is the Evil Skeleton, Darun, Muqtadir, Monster. You can help all those guys writing content for us. Darun is responsible of the knowledge base, of the documentation, of the handbook. So there is still a lot to be written, and any help is appreciated. So write articles for the blog, write articles to help users doing stuff in vanilla. Any kind of help is useful. And again, this is valid for every open source project.
Does anyone have something to add here?
Yeah, so I'd like to talk about especially contributing, which is easy to get into. So as a user, if you have more experience than like new users coming in, definitely just go into support channels of distributions, for example, and just help other users. That's definitely like the easiest way to get into contributing as a whole. Also, if you like writing, look at documentation, look where it's lacking, look at GitHub readmes, and just change things. The worst that can happen is that your pull request just gets rejected. Best that can happen is you get into a project, you know, you get to talk with the developers, maybe you get more into it. Um, yeah, that's basically it.
I don't even, sorry, can you hear me? Okay, so you don't even need to know all the GitHub infrastructure if you want to contribute. Seriously, just joining the Discord and asking us to do something, that's also just a huge help.
Okay, so to keep this under an hour, I'll start to wrap things up. I have 2 questions left. Let me do 2 questions. The first one for everybody, so I get to hear all of your voices again. What is your favorite dish?
Okay, that is a very complicated topic.
That's a loaded question. That's a loaded question.
So, who wants to go first? Matt, you are on screen.
Oh, I'd say I am a very eclectic person in terms of cuisine, so I don't really have a specific. I don't know.
You eat fried things, whatever it is fried.
Probably, but I'd say I am a really huge fan of sushi because
Okay.
this is kind of like a drug for me.
I'm going to take from the bottom. Skelly?
Yeah, I don't really have a favorite dish. I just eat whatever is available. My taste in food isn't really like, I guess, uh, specific.
We have to take this team to a food tasting, whatever, somewhere. Mirko, vanilla, skip. I already know the answer. Mirko, would you like to answer something different than vanilla, or we don't have Mirko? Fine. Muqtadir?
Yeah, I'd say shawarma. I actually had that for
He's
my lunch.
driving. Sorry, Muqtadir. Mirko is driving. We'll answer later. Please go,
Okay.
Muqtadir.
Yeah, I was saying I like shawarma, and I actually had that for my lunch. It's the best dish. Any of you guys who haven't tried it, do that.
Okay. Evil Cramo?
I don't know, man. Vanilla ice cream is pretty good.
Yeah, but it's not a dish. Come on.
It's sure. Yeah, I mean, it's you could technically maybe live off of it. Maybe someone should
Okay.
try it.
Darun?
So I don't particularly have any favorite dishes because we have a lot of really good dishes here in India. Like the cuisine is
Yes,
very
that's true.
diverse, so it's hard to pick one
That's
and
true.
not do justice to other dishes.
Different kind of curries,
Yep.
different kind of chicken tikka.
Yep.
It's difficult. Well, we could do, as a team, we could do a travel in India. Probably we can match the taste of everyone. You have so much choice that everyone could find something that can be really good for him. Axlos.
Uh, I actually don't really know. I'd say probably pizza. I really like that because there's so many different choices you can pick from. Yeah.
So we have a winner, Nico.
Yes.
Monster?
Yeah, I really like French fries with just a piece of meat. Really basic.
Okay. The French fries that are not French. I want to remember that to everyone. You laugh, but it's true. The French fries are not French. So before I answer, Nico, what's your one?
Okay.
Yeah, you started all of that.
Fair enough. I think I'll also probably go with pizza. I mean, I have to, don't I?
Well, you have choice. Main is pizza or pasta. But it's too much Italian. You are respecting the Italian thing about pizza and pasta, so that's not good, Nico.
Sorry.
Now I will go. Well, I had pizza yesterday, but favorite one. Yeah, for sure. If I have to choose between many, and I didn't have a pizza recently, I will go for that. But I really love meat. I really love steak, BBQs, so such kind of food. Now, some veggie in the chat will kill me, uh, but
Vegetarian in that
you're a
case.
vegetarian. Okay, okay. Your vegetarian is not veggie. You usually don't care about me eating meat then.
Do we know now what Mirko said, or
I don't know if Mirko, are you still driving? He said to me carbonara, but he told me in this way. He told me carbonara.
okay. So very quickly, when I was first talking about the project with Mirko when it first, when he first created it, I think that it did not expect the project to grow this fast. And when the first articles and video about it started, being published and everything, he was very happy. And I think also a bit surprised by just how many articles and how much interest out of VanillaOS. So what would you expect and what is your goal for the future of VanillaOS? Like, do you think it's going to become one of the main distros or not?
We are sure. No, I'm joking. Well, would be awesome to be one of the main distributions, at least somewhere. You probably know better than me that here in Italy, The main distribution is Mint. No one knows why. Yes, you don't follow you are only following groups where there are developers and so people that knows something about Linux, right? Try to dig into Facebook groups. Go to Linux Italia Facebook group. You could lose your ears. Linux Mint is the distribution. Is the reference, is the everything. So at least somewhere will be awesome to have Vanilla OS as the main distribution. Let's say that Canonical itself is migrating to a Vanilla OS model with immutability and so on. We still strongly believe that immutability is the way for ensuring that users' PC will not die like yours today. Basically, I'm not saying that it's a KDE fault, but it's a 360 degrees environment problem. So we'll see. We'll see, probably also starting from next month, where we are going to talk about vanilla to such big event as the Guadec.
Yeah, I think what vanilla, the direction we're trying to take vanilla into is mostly to be a distro for everyone, like regardless of your workflow. So by integrating flatpaks and immutability, we can make sure people that are not technically inclined can use the distro and not having to care about managing stuff. So they don't even need to know what a distribution or what Linux is. This is not our goal. Our goal is to have vanilla, and we can also like provide power for advanced users. And this is what we're trying to do with Apex 2.0. We're trying to focus more on people who are trying to set up a working environment, a development environment, and wants to have all these sorts of different tools they need. So we're trying to focus on both ends of the spectrum here. People who are very proficient with computers and need something that is reliable and has all the tools they need to work with development, but in a way that's very organized. But we also want to focus on the people who just want to install a browser and get on with their lives. That's actually the majority of people. And I think by having separate flavors and separate images, we have this flexibility where people can just sort of create exactly the thing they need, and they don't have to worry about updates breaking everything or anything else.
Yeah, I bring on top the blog post with Apex V2 and VSO V2 that play a big part of the game about what just said. So VSO taking care about all the dirty stuff for the end user, so updates and all stuff like that, while Apex takes care of the advanced users and developers, providing safe environments, more than one environment on the same machine. So in this way, we can target, let's say, everyone. I don't know if you have time for the stream. We can talk also a bit more about this, or maybe we can organize something different if you want.
I would wrap this up because it's been an hour, more than an hour already. I'd like to keep this watchable for everybody, but we can surely talk more in depth about this later.
We can do an episode 2 if you want. We have really much to say. There are a lot of changes going on with Orchid, so as you prefer, as you prefer. The blog post is there for everyone. There is really a lot.
Yeah, and a little spoiler, I will be very soon publishing a video about Vanilla OS and everything you've been doing. It's already recorded, so but I haven't had the time to edit it up yet. So
Okay.
Thanks everybody for joining in. I'm really happy that we managed to do this with all of you, and it was like I've been watching the project for a lot, and it's not my first video on it, but I really wanted to see all the people working on it. So thanks everybody, and of course I will put some links in the description to check out the blog post and such from Vanilla OS, but I don't think that's going to be necessary. If you have anything to say, but I think I said everything.
Well, I want to thank you, first of all, and all your community for being with us. Thank you to whoever from our community is right now with us. And it's been a pleasure. And whenever question you have, and feel free to reach us, you know how to do it. And for anyone that wants to know more, look at our blog, join our Discord, join the conversation, and start contributing.
And install Vanilla OS. I really recommend it.
Of course. Perfect. So, sorry?
You end the stream?
Yes, I'll end the stream. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.